Testing, testing. There we go. Come on. Okay. Mm. Okay. Let's do this then. All right, I think I'm live then now. Let's see, I'm trying to do this multi-stream thing where I'm streaming to multiple places at once. I'm trying to be on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I think I'm live right now. Oh crap, where's my voice echoing? Here we go. I gotta mute this. How am I gonna mute this? Oh man. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. There we go. Okay. I've now muted Periscope. Okay. Because it's just, for some reason, just going to feed back my audio here. All right. So this may be a little bit too much for me to keep up every single time. We'll see. Maybe I'll get better at it. But basically, I'm trying to stream more. I'm trying to do these Vanguard vlogs live because I've done a lot of live streaming before in the past, and that was pretty sweet. But it was very structured. But it was in some ways it was very structured. I would show up at a certain time, and then I would take I would have like a bunch of topics prepared and things like that, and then I would just kind of talk with the chat and that sort of thing. And that was fun. That was cool. But it didn't put a lot of pressure on me to come up with consistent content, which I already do in a more polished manner with a lot of my other stuff. But then on top of that, then the conversation with the audience then would kind of be hit or miss, whether it was good or not, depending on who was involved and that sort of thing. And so what I've decided to do instead is have these live things, these live vlogs, focused specifically on my patrons, the people, members of my Vanguard community, the people who have signed up through Patreon and that sort of thing. And we've got a whole Discord channel for these guys. It's like if you don't know what Discord is, kind of like a live chat service. It's like AOL Instant Messenger on steroids, or kind of like Slack, if you're familiar with Slack. And everyone's in there, talking and stuff like that. And they're always posting good questions, good topics, and that sort of stuff. So really, I'm going to be doing these vlogs kind of catered around this core group, because a lot of people reach out to me. They'll comment on my YouTube videos, they'll send me emails, and I get questions and feedback from a million different streams. And it's very difficult to figure out how to focus my time and attention. And so that was part of the reason why I came up with the idea of building the Vanguard community, so that I could, figure out, all right, here are the people who are actually invested in what I'm trying to do. And they really care. And so these are the guys I'm going to focus on. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing here. But I realized as I was doing this, because I've been doing this for a little bit now, doing these sort of vlogs, but I've been making them private for patrons only, is that there's a lot of value there. There's a lot of value there that I think would be useful to everyone. So the patrons get the advantage of being on the inside and getting my focus pointed at them, but then everybody else gets to kind of listen in and hopefully get some value from it. And recently I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've released the first episode of my new podcast. I filmed 4 episodes of the podcast. I only released one so far. And then I have also filmed a few other videos for another series that I got going, and that's going to be those are going to be released here soon. But in the meantime, as I was doing all that, I let a lot of the questions and topics and stuff from the Vanguard kind of go unanswered. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be catching up. We're going to be talking about sort of the other stuff, some of the stuff that I haven't really hit on. And let's see, before I do that, let me just check if people are able to see this stuff or what. Okay, we got, it looks like there's some people looking. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we got some people on YouTube asking how I'm doing. I don't really know how to, it's hard to monitor all these different streams at once. What I need a tech person who can like do this crap for me. But eventually, when the Vanguard's big enough, I'll hire someone to run this for me. But in the meantime, we'll just have to make do. So let's get to it. Let me bring up my notes here for what we had planned for today. Okay, so the first stuff I'm going to start with is it's a question from J-Man. And J-Man's been a member for a while here on the Vanguard community. And here's what he said. Hey, Mark. I feel like my last relapse was due to work stress. I've got a long-term project that's hard, and when I try to tackle it, urges happen and I want to escape. There's no deadline on this, but I obviously want to finish it. I remember that a good tool that helped me achieve long streaks was giving myself permission to do nothing. Then I started a long streak, and it seems worth it because trying to work, but then PMOing gets me nowhere. So I think the question he's asking here is like, all right, when I don't try and push myself with my work in these projects, then it's easy for me to develop a streak of quitting porn. And for anyone who's just tuning in randomly, that's one of the big things that I focus on here in Universal Man is developing sexual self-mastery, learning how to break free from the escapism of porn use and all that kind of crap. And so this guy, he's trying to do that, but he notices that as he tries to push himself pretty hard, he creates, he gets kind of triggered. And it stresses him out. And because of that, he wants to escape. He wants to use porn. He wants to jerk off, just like most guys probably do when they get stressed and worried and that sort of thing. So he's trying to figure out, all right, I know I'm supposed to push myself because, probably because he listens to me. And I say that all the time. It's like, you can't just be quitting porn and doing nothing else. You got to be quitting porn and actually living a life that you don't want to escape from, meaning you got to do the things that mean something to you, that are valuable to you, and that sort of stuff. And so he's trying to do that, but it's making his reboot harder. So what are you supposed to do? Well, I think the simple answer is to recognize that you can set priorities. All right, and I think you have to. And during the rebooting period, that's a very difficult period. You're going to be going through withdrawal symptoms. Your brain's going to be getting resensitized. It's going to be a challenging thing, okay? But, because of that, you have only so much willpower left over because you're going to be using the bulk of your mental and emotional energy, overcoming urges and that sort of stuff. And so that's not the time to reach for the high-level life goals, okay? That's like phase 2 or 3, okay? Phase 1 of getting your shit together is kick out the overtly bad stuff from your life. And then bring in some, solid self-discipline, like in terms of self-care, in terms of like, you take care of your sleeping, you're eating, you're getting outside, you're doing that kind of stuff. And if you want to know, you've checked out my reboot regimen guide, I think, but I break all that stuff down in there. That's going to be phase 1, quit porn and kind of like get basic lifestyle together. And then after you do that, you've leveraged and you focused your effort on kicking the porn and coming over the withdrawal and getting to the other side of that, well, that's when your brain's going to be resensitized. Your dopamine is going to be ready to be channeled in new directions. And at that point, that's when you want to be starting to, reach out and step over your comfort zone in those other areas. So it's okay to give yourself permission to chill a little bit. A lot of times, you're just not going to be at your peak when you're doing this part of your life. So, the reboot. So you got to make some changes and got to adjust for that. So hopefully that's helpful. Give yourself permission. I know I played a bunch of video games when I was quitting porn. Not necessarily the best way to do it, but that was the best I could get myself to do. And back then I didn't have me to guide me. I just had, my best guess. And it's like, all right, well, it's better for me to go just blow some people up online in a video game than for me to blow up my streak. So that's what I did. So I'm going to move on to the next question here. We got one from Marcus. Actually, we got 2 from Marcus. And Marcus was saying, how do I center myself such that I don't suffer a fallout when my girlfriend and I are fighting? Okay, this is a good question. I think a lot of guys, they struggle with this. They don't know how to handle emotional conflict in their lives. And if you don't handle this stuff adeptly, a couple of things can happen. First, obviously, a relationship will suffer, but then possibly worse is that then your relationship with yourself suffers, okay? Like, because if you're upset, you might do something stupid. You might do something that is quite counterproductive to the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. I know in the past for me, it's like I would get in a fight with my wife, or before we got married, I would engage in a path of self-destruction. I would waste a bunch of time, maybe just like watch a bunch of porn. I would maybe, just not do the work or the things that I was supposed to do because I was upset. I didn't know how to handle it. So like, I think the first step is to talk to yourself. All right. Because if you can't be in a decent relationship with yourself, then good luck trying to get your relationships with anyone else in order. It's not going to happen. Okay. You're not going to be able to do it because you're not going to be able to actually control yourself well enough to actually manage that relationship properly. So talk to yourself. Fixing my camera here. So talk to yourself, and you got to acknowledge what you're feeling. Acknowledge and validate. This is a skill that they taught me when I was becoming a certified professional coach. It's the baseline of all sort of interaction. If I want to have a good connection with you and you say something to me, you offer an opinion, especially a feeling statement, like this is how I feel about this, whatever, you got to acknowledge and validate. And that's not like this fluffy, like, oh yeah, super touchy, feely. No, it's just basic respect. So to acknowledge and validate, what that means is like, so you're saying, like, you say something and then I say it back to you. I say, so what you're saying is blah, 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 blah. And I basically rephrase what you just said in different words. It shows that I was listening, okay? And so the way you do that with yourself is you listen to that sensation that you feel inside of you, you translate it into words, okay? You're like, so this is what you're feeling down in there, a little emotional self. And that's acknowledgement. Validation is to say, okay, from that perspective, that makes sense. You're not saying that the emotion or the feeling is rational, like completely right or anything like that. You're just saying that if you look at it in a certain way, yeah, that makes sense, okay? And that's validation. And from there, that's just baseline emotional acceptance and awareness. That means you're not repressing, okay? That means you're not rejecting. That's just the beginning of it. And then from there, based upon what you find, then you speak to yourself, you respond to yourself. And so if you're, say it was a stupid argument, okay? And the best thing to do is, like, maybe she was just upset and mean to you or whatever, and, there's nothing to do about it because you're not going to try and force her into an apology or whatever. You know exactly why she was upset, and that was just whatever sort of situation. The best move is just get on, then move on, okay? Because here's the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to look at an emotion and then yell at it to change. It's not how it works. Sometimes we acknowledge that we have an emotion that we want to shift here. It's over here, but we want to move it over here. Maybe you're upset and you want to be just indifferent about the thing. You just want to make the upset go away. You make the upset go away not by trying to force the feeling. You do it by controlling your actions. So if you want to not be upset, then engage in an activity that someone who wasn't upset would engage in. And very often that would be just going on with your day, right? Just doing the next thing, occupying yourself on that thing, and then it'll be okay. But if it's a bigger issue, maybe you really screwed something up and you acknowledge and validate, oh man, you're upset, you really screwed something up, makes sense, you feel bad, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe responding is like, so because you screwed up, you need to go talk to her and apologize, okay? Or maybe vice versa. Maybe she was in the wrong and you need an apology in order to be okay. So, you acknowledge that and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go bring this to her. And she might throw some bullshit back at me and she might not acknowledge it, but like, this is where I'm at. This is me being honest and real. And this is where I need to be in order to make this relationship work well. So that's how I'd approach that. Hopefully that offers you some insight how to not go into a bad state when you get into a fight. Now, the other thing you asked about was, how do I deal with downtime throughout the day? For example, in the train, when I have nothing to do and I'm prone to escape behaviors like looking at memes, there is a specific website I'm somewhat addicted to. It's a site where mostly males post images that are often hilarious but occasionally sexually appealing in nature. I think I got started on it because I can rationalize it's innocent and it looks innocent on my accountability filter, but it's always eventually a trigger. Anyway, my point is that it's very easy for me to whip out my phone and browse some memes for a good laugh. It's mindless behavior that I'm prone to when I'm not feeling like thinking about anything. How do I substitute this with something else that I also enjoy but doesn't require thought? Can be done in downtime, etc. Or am I thinking of it the wrong and when I think I need a substitute? It's always circumstantial. Okay, these answers are always going to be circumstantial, and what you're talking about is a good thing. A lot of guys, they just got this compulsion where as soon as they sit down, they just like take out the dopamine machine and just start injecting novelty into their brain, getting a little buzz, and like not helping themselves. Your brain can only produce so much dopamine in a day, and if you're just using it all up on memes, you're not using it to make progress in life. So yeah, there is a trade-off there, but it's not inherently evil to spend some downtime enjoying yourself and laughing at some of the genuinely hilarious stuff on the internet. The big thing you got to ask for yourself is like, where is this really leading me? Okay, if there's triggering content, if there's like sexual imagery, which most image sharing sites do, most memes do, like every 10 images, there's at least something sexual that'll, designed to elicit arousal in the male brain. And if you're trying to avoid porn and that sort of thing, then you might be better off actually quitting these sorts of websites. I know for me personally, I had to quit things like Imgur and Reddit during my reboot. And it was because what you're describing here, I would use them as kind of like an excuse. Oh, I'm just, hey, I'm just curious. I just want to see what's up. I just want to laugh. In reality, I was just looking for boobs. And I just wasn't honest with myself. And so if you're doing that, you're trying to reboot, don't do that. Just cut those things out. Now, I'm way past that point, but I still cut those behaviors out because I think they're a waste. It's too easy. Basically, it's too easy to feel good to the point where it disincentivizes the more meaningful aspect or paths to feeling good. So like what for me, I've been trying to do a little bit of a substitute. So I'm trying to rebuild my social media build my social media standing a bit. So I'm trying to, do more on that, specifically on Twitter right now. I'm trying to expand into other areas, but basically it's like, all right, I got free dopamine floating here. Where can I channel it that's somewhere useful? So I'm trying to actually make productive social media posts in that time. So that's a substitute that works for me. But if you're not trying to build a platform and that kind of stuff, it may not work for you. Maybe you need to get the Audible app on your phone or get the Kindle app on your phone. And when you got downtime, listen to something, or read something, set up something that where if you're just trying to occupy your mind, then fill it with good stuff rather than just memes. I mean, some memes can be good, but like you said, this is causing you an issue. So you got to be maybe a little bit more discerning in the way that you approach this issue. So that's what I would recommend is like figure out what it is that you want. I mean, you're not going to have a one-to-one relationship, meaning like whenever you take out something immediately gratifying and you replace it with something else that's less immediately gratifying but better, it's never going to feel like, oh, this is just as exciting. It's not going to be like that. In the same way, you can't just find a substitute for porn that's just as exciting and fulfilling as porn and as easily accessible and, immediately satisfying, all that kind of crap. It just doesn't work. So there's going to be some upfront sacrifice, but, what do you stand to gain in the long run? And, if you don't want to push yourself to read a book, then maybe just sit in silence. Just think, you maybe got to just get a little bit more comfortable with discomfort. Get a little bit more comfortable with not injecting dopamine, into your brain so compulsively. Let's see what we got here. There we go. YouTube chat's rolling here. What we got here? Okay. Hey guys, how's it all going in the YouTube chat? You're the most active at the moment, I think. Let me see. Is anyone else watching? I can't even tell. Yes, I am. Yeah, no one's watching the other stuff though. I'll build the following. Actually, I think I have two viewers, maybe one viewer on Twitch right now. Okay, anyway, we'll get back to this. Maybe I'll just do YouTube from now on because this is kind of a pain in the butt to set it up everywhere. Oh wait, do I? Oh, I got some on Facebook too. Here we go. Holly's watching. Oh, Holly's watching. That's funny. Keith Martin asks, what's my Twitter handle? It's at a universal man. So anyway, let's go into the next question here. We got one from Adrian Z. And he says, and he directed this kind of at everyone, but hey, I'm going to answer it here. He says, how do you deal with jealousy when it comes up? Don't know about you, but that is what I struggle with every day. I don't know how to get out of it. When I see men who are more muscular, I go to the gym 3 times per week, so why can't I be like them? I saw a woman today at the gym who just seemed absolutely stunning. It seemed like she lived her life with such ease, doing yoga and being super flexible, projecting what I see as her living the perfect life. I know I do a lot of projection, but I also know and see the reality that women get more things handed to them than us men do. We have to build ourselves to become something while they get their world handed to them, i.e. money, guys hitting on them, etc., especially if they're attractive. How do you recognize your innate power without getting jealous of the power that others have and then despising them? Because I know that that's what's keeping me trapped, especially now that porn is gone and I don't see a way out. Okay, so the first thing is you're seeing just one little angle of reality, okay? And you're seeing, and you're attaching a story to it, all right? You're seeing these people, these guys who are big and strong, you're saying, they got there and putting in the same effort that I did. Or I do. And maybe that's not true. Maybe they've worked a lot harder than you for a lot longer. I don't know. Maybe in some instances that's the case. In some instances it might just be they got better genetics. And so that sucks, right? And so that's maybe, a point of jealousy, and that makes sense. With the women, I would say that, again, you're seeing kind of one side of the issue. In order for a woman to get that stuff handed to her, whatever, like you said, for the most part, she needs to be attractive. And that creates a tremendous amount of psychological pressure on women. Like eating disorders are no joke. And they are very real, especially for pretty women, because there's a lot of pressure on them. They associate their entire worth and value with their beauty because that's what people give them attention for. And so they think that that's all they are. And so that can actually be incredibly psychologically damaging. And then if you're not a pretty woman, well, then that's a whole other sort of scenario that is very difficult to deal with because women are taught that they are what they look like. And so, to not have that value that society says you should, or that you should derive your worth from, that can be, incredibly crushing and challenging. So I think, you got to expand your scope and understanding of the people that you're looking at. Okay. And yes, there are always going to be cases where someone is just gifted or blessed or whatever. And they've got something that is good that you don't have. And so that's really what I want to key in on those situations where it's just like, you don't have what they got. And at the bottom of this is a story that says, I'm not good enough because I don't have these points, these status points of, physical, like physique, or I don't have the sexuality points of, I didn't have sex with her, or, I'm not whatever. Like, if that's essentially conditional love. Conditional love is that it was when you say, I'm better and I'm more worthy if I score more points. And I need these points in order to feel good enough, okay? And as long as you're treating yourself from a place of conditional love, well, then what's happening is that you're essentially rejecting yourself for not having certain amounts of points. And that's a terrible way to live because it feels horrible. Because as soon as you have some kind of experience where your status drops, and in your case, it means seeing someone who's got some points that you don't, then all of a sudden your brain goes into this place of, I'm not good enough, I suck. And as soon as you start telling yourself that story, you start treating yourself that way. You start actually trying to distance yourself from your own experience. And that's what drives a lot of escapist behavior and a lot of stuff like that. And it's ultimately a bad thing. It is not good. And so the answer here really is separating dignity from status. Okay, dignity is the idea that you are unconditionally, inherently good as a person. You have unconditional, inherent value, but you may not have all the points, meaning like you may not have all the status. Just because every human has full dignity does not mean that every human has equal levels of status across multiple different measurements. Okay, not everybody's as equally strong or as equally rich or as equally beautiful or whatever, and that's different than saying saying that like people are like that stronger or prettier person is better. Okay, They may be better in that vector, but they're not better as in worth more as a human being. And so you have to, it sounds cheesy, but that's really kind of the heart of it. And then it comes down to the practical matter. So what can you do about it? If you recognize your dignity, then how do you heal that jealousy? Well, it's by treating yourself like you do matter. That by treating yourself, that recognizing that even if I don't have those points, I'm still worth the effort and worthy of the reward of pursuing a good life and treating myself well. And very often that starts on the internal level of just deciding to acknowledge the pain that you feel and not run from it. Because by being present with yourself in your own pain, you are basically saying that I'm worth the effort. I'm worth the pain of being present, rather than just rejecting yourself and being like, oh, you're not strong enough. I'm going to run away from you because you suck. That's what we try to do in our heads. We reject ourselves. We push ourselves away from ourselves, and that creates this mental split where we need to just dive into something stimulating to distract ourselves. And often those stimulating things are not very useful. So, you got to be present with yourself in it, and then you got to treat yourself well. And so, sometimes honoring your dignity, it means getting your ass up and, getting to the gym. Sometimes honoring your dignity means, not going to the gym and recognizing that, hey, I've been obsessed with this and I need to chill out and treat myself like a human being, not like some kind of, trophy that I need to polish. It's not the same thing, right? So it really comes down to honoring your worth in whatever is the most contextually appropriate way based upon your circumstances. And that's how you deal with jealousy. So hopefully that was clear. I was kind of all over the place, but it's pretty much like, decide you're still good, even if you may lack certain points, and then treat yourself like you're good by doing the next best thing that's good for you, okay? And also make sure that you think kind of holistically about whoever it is that you're admiring, what they have to do to get there, what other problems they might have, how might someone be jealous of you, that kind of stuff, because it can kind of pop that bubble of like, they have everything, I have nothing. And that's not a good mindset to be in. Let's see here. Got one more question from Lion Root, and then I think I'm pretty much caught up for the Vanguard questions and topics. It's been a bit of a longer stream, but that's cool. I think in the future I might keep these more like single topic when I'm popping on and doing them, but this has been cool. Or maybe I'll just save them, batch them up, and then do like one big stream. I don't know. I'm playing around with it. But anyway, here's what Lion Root said. What was the core thing he was asking? It's kind of a long question. Okay, so he's basically asking the question of, if I'm trying to quit porn, how strict am I supposed to be with like my porn filtering? Because the reason he brings it up is because he recognizes that there are some not safe for work Discord channels, okay? And Discord's the main way that the Vanguard crew talks to each other. And so because of that, he's wondering, should I even, allow it or not? Should I be like cutting it off, whatever? And so here's what you got to understand with filters, all right? Filters, porn blockers, that kind of stuff. They are not a solution. They're just a tool. And the core purpose that they serve as a tool is that they prevent you from engaging in an unconscious kind of reflexive poor decision. Okay. So it's like, if you've got a porn filter on, you can't just type, take me to, pornsite.com. Okay, you can't do that mindlessly. And that's what a lot of guys do, is they just reflexively go into these patterns, and obviously it's not helpful. So having that blocker there, it's like, even if you reflexively do that, oh, you're blocked, you can't do it. And then that forces you to think for a second and be like, is this really what I want to do? Oh, no. Okay, yeah, I'm going to stop. Thank you, porn filter. You did your job, right? But some guys, they approach this as if this is a solution, right? It's like, as long as I just block everything, then I never have to develop self-control, right? It's the battle has been won. No, that's not the way it works. You got to always aim at where you want to ultimately be. And where you want to ultimately be is to be someone who can have a smorgasbord of temptations put in front of them and then not act on them, right? That's who you want to ultimately be. You want to be able to, be in a scenario where you have an unfiltered internet in front of you and you don't immediately go searching for porn. Okay, it's not crazy. Like, so there's going to be a transition period, and it's going to be different for each person depending on where they're coming from, what their level of self-control is, what their level of comfort is, what they want to do, all that kind of stuff. So like at first, maybe you want to lean more heavily on a filter. At a certain point, though, maybe you don't want to. Maybe at a certain point you want, because it kind of gets in the way. It blocks you from getting the stuff you maybe need to get to at certain points for research. Or I don't know. I mean, like I can't have a filter on my computer because a lot of my work has to do with porn. So for example, like I can't do research and stuff like that. It'll block pages and all that kind of crap. And so, you know, I just don't have a filter. And it'd just be cumbersome to use it. So I had to develop the self-capacity to just not look at porn, even though it was available. And so a lot of guys, ultimately, they do want to live this way. They want to be able to watch modern movies with that might have a sex scene in them, and then not have to go like look up porn and masturbate afterward. And so you just got to figure out where you're at in your journey. If you're at the point where you want to, be someone who can do that kind of stuff, well, then you got to start trusting yourself and holding yourself more accountable and that sort of thing. So it kind of depends on where you're at, right? If you're right in the beginning and you're still unconsciously relapsing a lot, well, then probably keep that filter pretty strict. If you're not at that point, well, then maybe you want to maybe take it down and try and learn how to take some ownership of your decisions. It's up to you. But the big thing is to just recognize that it's not a solution. You don't want to lock it down completely and think that that's you cured, because it's not. The only way in which that is kind of a cure is if you decide to go live in the woods and never come out. Then it's just like, okay, hey, if you're committing to that, monkish life, living like a hermit, well, then that's a viable option. But I don't think that's what most people want to do. So let's see. Let's look at these chats here. We got anything to talk about here real quick? Oh man, there's a lot of YouTube comments in here. Awesome. Thabit asks, how to remember all the knowledge I read and watch on the net. So much advice feels like information constipation. What do I focus on? Keep forgetting wisdom. That's where you want to journal, probably, man. You want to make sure you're journaling, because if you're journaling and tracking what you did each day and saying, all right, here's what I did, successful, and that's awesome, well then, great, but here's what I screwed up on. And that's the big thing. That's the important thing. And you identify where you keep screwing up, and then you identify how you would change next time so that you don't keep screwing up in that way. And that's the wisdom that you want to be focusing in on. There's a lot of wisdom out there, but you don't need all of it. You definitely don't need all of it at once. You just need enough to deal with the most pertinent problems that you're dealing with right now. So focus on trying to distill the knowledge that is going to best serve you with the problems that you're currently facing. And if you don't know the core problems that you're currently facing, well, then you need to practice some self-reflection and start journaling. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. This is a long stream, but thanks for tuning in, everybody who tuned in. This was fun. I'll have to check the other broadcasts and see if it's worth continuing to do them, or if I'll just do these on YouTube moving forward. We'll see. But yeah, there we go. That's what we got. Stay sharp, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.